And tonight we leave the cool of Studio E Lime Grove in London and go to sweltering Great Yarmouth on the East Norfolk coast, a bustling, noisy seaside resort. Ignoring Clacton, Cleethorpes and Skegness, Great Yarmouth would undoubtedly claim to be East Anglia's foremost seaside playground. Certainly from now on, the roads which lead to it from the industrial Midlands in the north are jam-packed with holidaymakers. And the man who's packing them in at the ABC Theatre in Great Yarmouth for the summer season is Danny La Rue. It's quite cool here by the side of the pool, but what's it like doing your act in heavy costume in the middle of a heat wave?
A bit of a drag, to coin a phrase. Now, very hot, especially as I have about 14 costume changes in each show. But mainly it's the wigs. They become like a tea cozy on top, on top of the head. But the audience, I feel so, they sit there very obligingly in the enormous heat. It's a dryness of the heat, you see, and they're not really used to air conditioning yet in England for theatres and cinemas.
And the fans?
They fan all the programmes like a Japanese theatre. It's lovely to see them all fanning themselves. Mind you, I will say, it's lovely to see a healthy look. They all look so healthy. It's like doing a show in the south of France or the Costa Brava. They're all so tanned and lovely to see them so happy.
Do you like playing a summer season? Because if I can be sort of vulgar for a moment, you're known to be quite a rich man, so you needn't be working this hard in this kind of heat at somewhere like Great Yarmouth.
Well, you're only as rich as Mr. Healy allows you to be. One has to keep working in my sort of status to just keep paying the tax, which I don't mind, of course. It's the only country I want to be in, so I don't mind working hard. I'm still left with a bit, it's nice.
You wouldn't be a tax exile?
Oh, I couldn't be. I only speak English badly, and I'm gregarious. I like chatting, and I would be unhappy abroad. I can't speak any languages.
But Great Yarmouth also, because you've often said that you really are stage-struck in the most corny, dynamic,
yes, I am.
Mad way. You love the theatre.
Yes, that's what keeps me fresh, I think. I like the theatre. It's marvellous to be doing the job you like doing. There's so many people, unfortunately, have to do things they don't like doing. But I get great thrill out of it, the applause. I am completely stage-struck.
I must ask you this, because the last time you talked to us on Nationwide, in about, I think, 73, was, of course, to announce to the world that you were hanging up your boobs,
yes,
that away with the skirts, away with the dresses, no more, you'd had enough.
Yeah,
well, what happened?
Well, what happened was first the influx of, very kindly from my fans and people saying, it's the audiences tell you when to give up. And also the non-offers of straight parts. When you get labelled, as I have, that all I do is to be the forever living modern Charlie's aunt. I go around in skirts, well, not all the time, but and the great thing is that the success is astronomical. One always feels it's going to go down, but it hasn't by any way.
Forgive me, was it in any sense a kind of lack of courage, a slight cold feet on your part, that if you took the plunge and said, I will only do something different and straight acting or whatever it was you wanted to do?
No, because there wasn't enough of it coming. I mean, as you said earlier, you make some money. Well, I did make a lot of money, but I also invested in hotels because I always feel that I should like to keep people working around me, and the nearest to my entertainment was that sort of business. Well, to keep them going, one has to work, and there were just no offers. I'd get an odd, say, a rep saying, would you do a play? And
was that a disappointment?
Oh, of course it's a disappointment, because, you see, I do feel that there are other things I can do. Yes.
Now, about what you usually do, before we filmed this interview, I used the term drag.
Yes.
And you said, forgive me, but could you not use that term?
Yes.
Now, what term would you prefer?
Well, first of all, the word drag comes from the Shakespearean dragging of the skirt, which is quite correct. But what it conjures up now, there are several good female impersonators, I must get that clear, in the country. And there were some great, I mean, we had the Dougie Bings, the George Lacey's, Over the Garden Wall, Norman Evans, what I call the real dame female impersonator. I tried to get across the glamour of the glamorous bird with the comedy of those masters. This is a great musical and variety comedy.
I gather you were very happy with a phrase I think of Harold Hobson's, that really you were Max Miller in sequins.
Yes.
And I gather you were very happy with that.
Well, I adored Max Miller in my early variety days. I saw him and knew him very well. And what I liked, and I hope one achieves it sometime, is timing. That's the difference between a risque joke and a dirty joke. It's pure timing and technique, or panache, whatever you might call it. I am cheeky, but I think my cheek comes from the bawdiness of musical, the honest, basic English vulgarity, which I think is almost picture postcard at the seaside, you know, which is that sort of thing.
Now, you got very irritated once when a journalist described your act as camp, and you got really very irritated about that.
Well, of course, there's two ways to look. People call like high camp in comedy, which is you don't have to wear a frock to be high camp. What I call in the word as is widely accepted now, camping it up. Or something. No, I have always maintained that my success has been that I've never lost me. I am Dan to everyone. I walk down the street now and they'll say, "Hello, Dan, how are you? All right, you know, we've seen you, or we have seen you." They're all very nice. I couldn't play. I've literally played to millions of people now. If it was just camp, it's much deeper than that. A lot of thought, a lot of very, very hard work. You see, when people like see a snippet that we've just seen now in musical, in the city varieties, which I love doing because of the audience, I am a bit limited because I will stick to the songs of now. The great thing about being called cheeky today, I mean, if one goes through songs like the Marrow Song, or I Sits Among the Cabbages and Peas, you see, not one lyric has changed, and they are really very near the knuckle. But of course, quite accepted in those days because it was part of the tradition, that marvelous. See, I'm a great believer. I think there should be a national musical, like the National Theatre, because it is as much part of our country as Shakespeare. It is great, some great people worked very hard, and that's what I'd love to see. But getting back to camp, no, I am not a camp performer. I put on, instead of like getting back to Max's flowery suit, I put on a flowery frock, or stick a few feathers in my bum and run on, you know, things like that. But the audience are in the big joke. It's a big joke. I wouldn't get people, my opening line, Wotcher mates, which seems to make the people at ease, that it's going to be a giggle, and fully in the sequins and the feathers. And they say, oh, I'm sure the fellas go, oh, thank God, I thought it was going to be serious, you see. It has to be fun. The only reason for dressing up, unless one is playing, say, as a male character, a female character in Shakespeare, and then it has to be straight.
But you see, I suppose it's true to say that you made female impersonating in this country respectable, which is a dull word. But I suppose before then there was a feeling it wasn't quite a nice,
it's not sleazy, I suppose.
Nice trade, nice profession.
I think probably made it accepted more. I think respectable is a sort of. I always think Victorian. I don't know why when somebody says respectable.
Could I ask, which I haven't done, rather late in the day, but how you got into it in the first place?
Well, it happened when I was in the Navy and I was in Singapore. And I was on a very big converted liner with a huge crew. I think we were 1,200. We used to put on our own shows. And they had a sort of competition between the Navy, Army, and Air Force. And I played Tom DeLeo in White Cargo, comedy version of it. And I was seen by several people and said, well, you seem to do it quite differently. You make the characters very attractive, but yet you're very funny. Then I did a slight review in a theatre called the Irving Theatre in London. I think it held about 100 people, and I was seen there by a man who put on the Cecil Landau. He presented shows in a London nightclub. I suppose you could say my career really started from then by changing my name, because I had always worked under my own name, Carroll, Danny Carroll. And then I changed it to Danny La Rue. It was changed for me, actually. And I said, well, why La Rue? And they said, it's the street, and you're very tall. And so it's Danny the Street.
I see.
And with the change of name, my career seemed to change and take, you know.
In the same way as I suppose one would ask an actress of 40 plus.
Yes.
Is this a worry for you?
48, that's my age.
48?
Yeah, 48.
Well, you're more open about it than I am.
I'm not worried about age. I feel about 20. I love that. I feel very healthy.
Well,
I don't care about age.
Your fortune isn't your face or anything like that, because you have so much other talent. But in the same way, do you have to be worried about whether you're going to go on looking very striking when you're dressed as a woman? This sort of. Do you have the same kind of anxiety?
No, I am very good with makeup. One of the flattering things about television, for instance, the makeup girls watch me making up for some hints, which is very nice and they're great flattering. Most good theatre people can make up well. I mean, when Larry Olivier plays, I've seen him play a lady, Alec Guinness, they're very good with makeup. It's pure. I will know right away. I have that sort of intelligence, thank God. Right away, I will say, that's finished. You must stop that sort of character. You can do dames, like pantomime dames, things like that.
Well, I hope you continue for as long as you want to do what you do, and I hope that the sort of break you might be looking for also happened?
That will come, I suppose. I think soon. I think somebody must offer me. I'd love anybody I'm now saying, please offer me a play. And to do. I love it.